So architecture-wise, I'm not sure Nairobi definitely doesn't have an architectural style, but this is an interesting looking building. I mean, it has some Arabic style. I mean, it definitely has some Arab style influences. You can see what are those things called? Those things on top. It's like coronet or something. There's an actual word for them that I can't think of right now. But as you can see, most buildings are built with brick and cement. I mean, they'll have a few more buildings in, I'll go to this one area called Upper Hill, which is more of the financial area. Many financial places are moving out of the center proper of Nairobi and to the outskirts to Upper Hill area, and there they have the actual, they have the actual more the steel frame buildings and things like that, more the ones you see in the West. But a lot of the building is still done here with cement and stones, which just changes and depending in different areas. It's cheap enough to quarry those here and get that kind of material here, so they use that. And this general area is also parklands, which is an area connected to Westlands. And the parklands area is where a lot of the Asian Indian community diaspora, the people that were initially brought here during the colonial times by the British, who were colonized, and they had established they had established their headquarters here in Nairobi. And then in the parklands areas where the Indians settled, and then the subsequent migration of Indians coming from Indian subcontinent, so the Bangladeshis. It's mostly Indian, it's mostly just Indians proper, but you have Sri Lankans, you have Bangladeshi, you have other people from that general Indian area, and most of them moved here. So in Nairobi, in Kenya, I think there's about 45 million people around that. There's about 750,000. Well, can you see here? You can get the fresh coconut juice or coconut water. And then you have, so you have 750,000 Indians, and most of them live in Nairobi. I think something like, I'd say 70-75% live in Nairobi. Most of them live in the Parklands area. And then you have some in Kisumu, which is one of the second biggest city, which is by Lake Victoria in the western part of Kenya. And then you have a smaller amount in in Mombasa area, which is by the coast. But Mombasa area is where you find most of the Arabs and Swahili people, because we're in the coast, and the coast is across from the Middle East. So yeah, that's parklands. So you can walk, you can still see some water here from previous rains or from leaks, but yeah. Still in my parklands walk. Constant construction here, there, everywhere. Right there, that's Mayfair Casino Club. Gambling is legal in Nairobi. I think the whole of Kenya actually. But there's some casinos and things like that here. There's also this place called Spurs. It's another barbecue place. They have this like all you can eat for 1,500 shillings, which is like all you can eat for 1,500. 1,500 shillings. All you can eat for 15 bucks. I think ribs. I've never actually gone, but I think it's like Thursdays or something. I saw it advertised somewhere. But it's supposed to be pretty good, but it's attached to a hotel. So you have a lot of things where it's like a hotel, then there's a restaurant attached to it. So people go straight just for the restaurants, people stay for the hotel. So Southern Sun, Mayfair. And there's a lot of international chains that will have different chains in Africa. Like for all I know, this one could be attached to like the Marriott or something. That's how it works with a lot of these international chains. They'll have kind of a subcontractor in different countries, but when it comes down to it, you're working for the same kind of company. And that's another thing where you can be like, oh, I'm going to boycott. They have all this thing with like boycotting things in the States. Oh, somebody did this, somebody supported this, I'm going to boycott. You boycott the company and you're like, I'm going to switch from drinking this one kind of soda and switch to this other kind of drink. And you're just still giving money to the same people. So some of the boycotts, you gotta dig deep and find out how far you need to go to actually not give money to those people. But yeah, as you can see, more construction, more traffic, bit dusty. Shoes stay dusty in this place, but it's kind of cool. I mean, okay, also yeah, that's another thing. Part of the dust is the dry heat. It's on the equator, but there's not that much humidity, so it'll get really hot, but you won't get the sticky feeling and the sweat on you. It'll just evaporate off of you. And then another thing with the construction, you can see up there, they use these small little pieces of these kind of trunks, tree trunks, these branches to support. So it's kind of like the bamboo thing, but not necessarily. They're trying to bring bamboo here the way they do it in Asia, using bamboo to build, I think, even like massive skyscrapers. They use this bamboo scaffolding, but different places have different things, as I said, with different costs. It's currently cost effective to use wood instead of using the steel scaffolding or iron scaffolding that they would use in somewhere like the United States of America. Now, with the United States of America, that could also be regulations. That could be regulations and making them not use something like wood. But I don't know, and I don't think I'm going to research that piece. But yeah, also like our purple tree, that's a jacaranda tree. There's another hotel called Jacaranda, and I don't know, I really like those trees, I really like the colors. Hardly have leaves on them, it's only just those purple blooms. But yeah, so we're still in the Parklands area. This is where Parklands kind of meets Westlands, and Westlands is more of the city actual place. Not a city, but more commercial. And yeah, oh, you can see right here, Pizza Hut, international chain. Domino's came first, then Pizza Hut was here, but there was already some local pizzas doing their own thing, so they entered the market, and now they're competitive in there. And you can see again construction, people doing them from work. There was a female construction worker there. They normally have some mixed crews, but the females don't normally do like the digging. She seemed to have a shovel there, so she was actually doing actual digging. They'll normally have different kind of jobs that are not as labor intensive. But yeah, back to Westlands. So I was back in Nairobi about 6 months ago, but I didn't really walk around that much that time. It's mostly staying on the outskirts. But a lot changes. This Chef's Chicken wasn't here last time I was here. Chef. But yeah, this was also opened up. We used to have a wall over here. There's an illustration I did where I took a photo of this area, then put like the Juggernaut, the Blob, and Saber-tooth there. I'll show you it on the screen. But it looked different here, but that's the thing. Things change a lot in Nairobi. As I've said, the developing countries mean things are changing. I mean, some things happen a lot faster, some things happen at a snail's pace. So it's kind of an exciting place in that way, and you see different things. But the chicken thing, that's the go-to thing, the go-to snack places here, and that's good to go more into the whole the whole trope of black people liking chicken. Yes, chicken, get the chicken. But yeah, so chicken's a big thing here. It used to be fish and chips. A lot of the fish and chips places that were brought here, I think that was more of a UK thing since it was a British colony. They have the fish and chips places. Just go get chips, and chips are just French fries. They call them chips here. I think they should stop that. Anyway, and then chips like Lay's potato chips, they're called crisps here. So if you're in Kenya for some reason and you ask if you like some chips, they don't mean potato chips. But so the fish and chips places got changed to chicken and chips, and you can only go get them. There was one called Kenchik that was one of the biggest ones, but I think they've been bought out. They expanded too much. And there's something I'm going to talk about in a separate video about companies that expand. If you don't have some kind of major regulator like a government giving you some rules and protections to prevent other people from entering the market itself will check you. You'll get to a certain size and then be like, okay, we can't get any bigger. And if you overextend, you'll find your quality of the product dropping, and then you start getting losses and somebody else comes in, and that's the turnover of businesses. That's a natural thing. Hope the sound's good. Okay, the Domino's is there. There's a Cold Stone next to it too. Some of these places, they'll come together. Like pretty much everywhere you find a Domino's, you'll find a Cold Stone Creamery. But yeah, that's Nairobi. But this place changes a lot at night. It's a lot of clubs and places like that, so whole different atmosphere like on the street. And there we go with the wind and the dust again.